Sadanand has been running a bakery for the last 15 years in one of the busy by-lanes of Bangalore. These bakeries are small retail shops selling daily household items including bread, milk and other essentials. Alongside millions of such retailers and businesses, Sadanand is part of the digital wave that has been reshaping India's growth story over the past decade.
ಅಂದರೆ ಅವರು ನೋಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಕೊಡು ಮುಟ್ಟ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರು ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ ಅರ್ಜೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಆ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದಾಗ್ತಾಯಿತ್ತು. ಈಗ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಆ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅನುಕೂಲ. ನಮ್ಮಂಥ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಪುಟ್ಟ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರದವರಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರಿಗಾರು ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಥರ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಈಗ ಮೊದಲು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇತ್ತು, ಈಗ 70% 70% ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ಅಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಈಗ ₹1 ಹಿಡಿದು ₹100 ₹200 ಈ ಥರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ.
In a different corner of the bustling city, we find Girish, an HR professional who has just completed an interview with a promising job applicant.
We wanted to recruit the employee on immediate basis. We are not able to get the verification on time. Like we need to submit the documents to the our third-party vendor who is doing the BG verification for our company. So they will also take too much time to verify the those documents. That is about like 12 to 15 days. There is also cost factor involved. Okay, so now we are using this DigiLocker for getting the employees documents on spot. So when we have the recruitment process, so we can tell our candidates to shortlisted candidates to share their documents via this DigiLocker. So and it is already e-verified.
India's biometric identification system, Aadhaar, is the largest of its kind.
99% of Indians, according to the department that governs this biometric system, have signed up.
And the IMF says that India has one of the fastest growth rates of digital payments of any nation in the world.
This transformation didn't just happen by chance. It's the product of meticulous planning, deliberate design, and a good amount of serendipity, accelerated by a loosely connected network of publicly minded innovators.
Well, after the elections in 2009, and the government had been doing a ID project which they had got cabinet approval for. I had written about ID in my book, Imagining India, which had come out the earlier year. So it all came together and I was offered the job of chairman of UIDAI, which rolled out the Aadhaar ID in July of 2009. The original cabinet note that set up the UIDAI did not have the word digital at all. It actually just said give everybody a unique ID, which was actually quite a profound idea in itself. We decided to make it digital.
Two things that we always speak about is GPS and internet, right? We always talk about these two. GPS is somewhat like a platform plane, but except that it has extreme minimalism built in, just tells you where you are, no other connotation. But internet was very different from GPS in that sense that it was completely an open protocol driven, an open standards driven, but a network topology, as we call. It's a topology of many nodes coming together. The more nodes you add to the internet, the more valuable it becomes, right? So that's why the network effect becomes that way. Whereas GPS was doing one thing very well. So Aadhaar is like GPS. GPS tells you where you are, and sort of Aadhaar tells you who you are, not philosophically, but from a system perspective. Whereas UPI and ONDC and account aggregator, if you look at it, they are like internet. There's no software per se, right? It's completely driven out of open protocols, open standards, but many nodes join in, and the more nodes join in, more value it unlocks in the society.
Well, DPI is technology in the service of society. How do societies benefit? I think that's the big difference of DPI, which is why it's so relevant, that it's actually about technology in the service of society and people.
For nearly a decade, the India DPI narrative has unfolded as a tale of unexpected scale and empowerment. However, there were challenging times too, during which the road ahead looked bleak and uncertain.
everything we have done, there have been many times when we have felt we have reached the end of the road. I mean, in Aadhaar, I remember at least 5 or 6 occasions when I said, okay, the game's over. Because there was it was reaching a point where it looked like it couldn't go further, or it was going to be stopped or crippled or whatever.
Yeah, but there were situations where we were looking at quite difficult, both technology battle, in the sense as a scale. The scale was enormous and never been done before. It was very clearly told to us that you will need a football field full of soccer field full of $1 million computers to pull off this deduplication. And so it is theoretically possible, but not economically viable as practical. And those situations we had, what do we do?
The trick was to keep working, whatever be the adversity, to be able to go forward.
And then we had to really use computing techniques, understanding the trends, and to say Moore's law, can we play this game well? And then we eventually completely built using commodity computing, everything, right? And it was very cheap in one sense to be pulled off.
From Aadhaar, the world's largest biometrically verifiable identity system, to UPI, the world's most interoperable and high-volume real-time payments network, India's DPI has enabled its citizens to access a wide range of essential services, including financial, health, education, and social safety nets.
Aadhaar was a very sovereign identity issuance problem, so it was a government ID project, and hence most of a platform thinking. By the time we came eSign was merely a spec. It was no software involved. It was an open spec where the market could build eSign providers, as we call. So interoperability was even more reinforced at that time. DigiLocker was about a platform but facilitating a lot more decentralized issuance and decentralized acceptance of verifiable credentials. And then we did DIPA, which is UPI, of course, which is an open network for payment, 350 banks, hundreds of apps, millions of merchants and so on, right? So minimalism stayed well, privacy and security by design stayed well, interoperability stayed extremely well, market innovation stayed always.
Future DPI building blocks hold the promise of innovation across most sectors, powered by a similar philosophy.
I think over the years we have evolved to think about DPI as nothing but rails that are available publicly. Either they're done by the government like Aadhaar, they're done by a non-profit like NPCI, or just a protocol like Beacon. There are different forms it takes. So all these lead to essentially public rails that enable private innovation.
Because without innovators using DPI elements or the ingredients, DPI are just ingredients, somebody has to combine that to serve value. Whether DPI can be applied for sustainability and climate action? Absolutely yes. It's a way of thinking. So we are looking at 5 or 6 areas in the sustainability and climate action where DPI can absolutely be applied, being applied, and there are pilots that are kicking in right now.
The success of DPI has not just been the story of India. Many countries have adopted the DPI approach to solve some of the complex population scale challenges.
Well, I think over the last couple of years there's been tremendous appreciation of the Indian model of DPI, and the G20, where India was the presidency for the last 1 year, helped in putting the whole DPI idea forward in front of many countries. So I think we are seeing amazing things happening. I mean, Bangladesh has done so much good work in KYC and so on. Brazil has built the PIX platform for payments. Philippines has built an ID system. Sri Lanka has used the digital vaccination certificate from India. Morocco has built an ID system and so on. So I think it is now becoming much more prevalent, and now there's this grand ambition of 50 countries in 5 years.
I would think countries should think from their most impactful, most value unlocking DPI first. For example, one country might say, we are very, very an agrarian, and agriculture is the most compelling use case that we want to go. Even there, you can say, agriculture doesn't mean you can't do DPI. DPI is a way of thinking. So you can create very, very powerful, and you can use that as the lever, agriculture as a domain lever. For us, financial inclusion was a lever for Aadhaar, but it could be agriculture for Aadhaar also, no?
The DPI approach has the potential to empower billions of people around the world and create a more just and equitable future for all.
Through Aadhaar, DigiLocker and UPI, we have truly demonstrated that we can create a common rail, the DPI, that caters to people with smartphone, people with feature phone and people with no phone.
In my view, digital transformation is the only way that the world can go from middle income or low income to high income, the only way that we can be inclusive, the only way that we can do the climate transition. So the benefits of this is so huge. We should go all out for this.